Hello, this is Stuart Fleming. In today's video, we're going to be going over skinning, which is a way to format the look and feel of a web page. In this particular screen here, you can see that I have some buttons and they have a little bit of coloring in them, but there's not really any coloring here. And the place that this is actually set is in the trinidad-config.xml right here, and you can see that it's pointing to Skyros. And if we change this to an X, and then save it, and then come over here, you can see the effect that this is going to have in a minute here. It's going to rewrite it, and you can see that all the formatting is basically gone. They're just simple buttons. Some error here occurred, perhaps. Sometimes I see this when I open up things, and I wonder if the skin just failed to load properly. Now, if we set this instead to Fusion, which is another style sheet that comes kind of in the Jdeveloper install, and then come over here, you're going to see that it's even more colorful. It's better than Skyros, and they have a number of different versions. I'm not exactly sure what version 11.117 goes up to, but you can see here that this one, the top part of the screen, is a little lighter, and down here is a little darker. The buttons look a little bit more alive. They have more shading. The left side is a little bit whiter and then or lighter, and then the dark side or the right side is a little darker, and it gives just a nicer look and feel. Now, if I want to change the look of this, I can change this to, let's just do a light silver, and you can see that it doesn't change the actual text box, but it changes inside the label here. And if I want to, no, hold on, I want to use the same data control here. I'm just going to come over here. Actually, you know what? I don't even need that. We'll just put a an output text here. So where is it? Output text there, and we'll just put some text. Okay, so this is an output text. I'm going to put a panel box, and there's a method to this madness here. Wait a minute, it has to be under layouts, panel box, there, and I'm just going to stretch it a little bit. So there we go. All right, now, so you can see that I have the ability to set each one of these a different color, or I can set this to a different color based on what I need. Oof, that's a little too dark, but lime, and then we can set the color here to fuchsia, and so I get a look and feel which is basically loud. Okay, so there are ways to do this, but to do each particular label and each particular input box or whatever, what have you, would be very onerous. So what we would do is use skinning. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new, and come over here and choose HTML CSS file, and I'm going to call it main.css. Okay, and you can see that it puts some coding in here. Now I'm going to cheat because I actually have some of this stuff already done in preparation for this. So if you would just follow me. Okay, so this is my sample application. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to get the main and the main2, and I'll explain that in a minute. And we'll copy it over to my view controller here. And copy and replace. Okay, so I don't need that. And then we're going to come back to the view controller and go into the web inf. And you can see that there's the Trinidad here, which is where I specified the skin, but I want to get it from, I want to get this file. And this file, in fact, I'm going to get both files. They're not much different, frankly. Copy and replace. Okay, so let's go back into Jdeveloper. Keep an eye on this webinf directory while I do it. You can see that that loaded and this loaded. So if we open this now, it's pointing to my, and it's pointing to v2. If if we look at the skins, Trinidad skins file, you can see that there's a XML file and there are two skin elements in here, and each one has some information about it. So here's the family. This is my skin 1, skin 2. So the family is the same in both of these, and you can see that it's the version is for v2, v1, and you can see that the file is CSS2. So I've already done this work, so I know it works. Okay, and this has now got a lot of stuff in it, and I'll explain that in a minute. But if we come over here now and wait for it to refresh, you can see that it's changed everything except for this, which we basically set here, and this that we basically set here. Okay, so if I remove this, you can see that it returns to what the skin is now specifying. Okay, so let me get those open now. So you can see that this, whoops, sorry, not the panel box, but this will overwrite what I specify in the skin. Okay, and in fact, if I take this out, I think that it's not going to show anything. I've had some problems with the output text. And if we go back to the skins directory, or the skins, Trinidad skins, you can see that we have two specifications here. This one extends the Fusion.desktop, and this extends the skin1.desktop, and this is the skin1. So this one is going to extend Fusion, which we had shown earlier, and then this one is going to extend everything specified here. Okay, so if I have this set to v1 and press save, v1 is pointing to this file. Let me go back. So we have version 1, and it's pointing to the main CSS. Version 2 is pointing to the main CSS main 2. Okay, and this is now pointing to v1. And if we do a full refresh, you can see that it's orange. Well, why is that? Okay, so let's find input text here. So the way it works is that the AF, and then there's a pipe, and then input text, and that conforms to, relatively speaking, the AF colon input text. Okay, you can see that this is background color is set to orange. The italic 32 point, I don't know if it's picking that up though. Helvecta Arial sans serif. Okay, so you'll notice also that over here you have a whole bunch of different specifications, and this is rather helpful because you can easily choose the color you want. Okay, or you can come over here and really get colorful. Okay, so let's say we want to change it to that color or that color. Alright, so now it'll change it to whatever RGB we have. Excuse me. And it'll actually put it in there. I prefer to actually use the names of colors if I can, because who knows what that is. It also sets the font family. Okay, and if we come over here and we refresh it now, we'll see that this is now going to change to that light color that we changed it to, which is, okay, that's much more attractive. Okay, now it doesn't change this, and I'm going to take something out here. Let's take this out. I guess we have to use stars. And if we come over and do a full refresh of that, you'll see that it's the typical white that we get. Now, the one thing about this is that this color setting and this color setting are entirely different. So that's one thing, and it's only when and it doesn't seem that you can change the actual color of this through here. So if I set this to green, nothing seems to happen there. If I change the font, it seems like this doesn't really do anything. The size, maybe doesn't really do anything to any of these things. So you have to wonder, well, what's going on here? Why isn't this working? I've always had problems with this. And if we run this, let's save it first. Wait for it to come done, run. Okay, so it didn't pick up any of the formatting that we had done here. It didn't pick up the italic, it didn't put up anything. But if we change the CSS and take this out, and you notice here that it's actually erroring out. It doesn't know what to think of this. But if we come over to here and we look at it, it will in fact change that to red. So there's some things that this version of Jdeveloper just doesn't understand. And so possibly, let's see, just press a space there. You might be able to do font italic or something like that. I haven't really messed with this too much. Font style italic. Ooh, let's see if that will work. And I think we can just press F5 here. I'm not sure. I haven't actually tested this. Come on, F5. Usually F5 will work for a small change like that. Okay, I'm going to actually now you might see some errors or error messages in there saying it doesn't support it, which is understandable. There's some things in here that may indicate that it's not reading it, but so obviously the font style is not changing in here, which is unfortunate. But you can also see that down here it's a slightly lighter or darker than up here. So you can see that the Fusion style that we had extended, the Fusion style that we extended in the Trinidad skins extends Fusion desktop. Now we can change that to an X, and nearly all of the formatting in that page will just disappear. Let's see if we can do it here. No, didn't do it. But it should do it here if we do a full refresh. Yeah, so even though we have still the red that we defined, the buttons have lost their texture. Okay, so let's go back, take that out, save. All right, so where are we here? Now the other thing is that this is extending this. Okay, so if we come over here and we look at the color, let's see, where is the color here? I want to make it a interesting. Let's make it lime. Okay, so we're going to make the color lime here. And this input text, input text here, I think this is the color here. Let's change this to just a simple red aqua. All right, so we're going to save that, come over here, and full refresh. Okay, so you can see now that this changed to aqua. Okay. In the Trinidad, we're specifying that we're looking at v2. We're going to change this to v2. Now, again, remember that v2 is pointing to this one, which we just specified as having a lime color. So now, if we save it and then do a full refresh, we're going to get the lime color. Okay, so that's how extension works, and you can figure that out on your own. So let's go over a few of these things. Now, obviously, I don't know enough to really do this all. I just kind of hack my way through it, but it's enough. So here you can see that we have the AFD, or AF default font family, and alias, :alias. And you can see over here that in the property inspector, it doesn't know what to think of this. So Jdeveloper, I think, obviously hasn't kept up to the what you can do with CSS, and I think 12c has a better interface than 11.1117. But you can see we're setting the font family. This one, we're actually setting the content. This did not pick up, but the red did, so there's certain things that are not supported very well. I put this in just so that you can see that you can specify 3 different components, and these 3 different components should have the same setting for all of them. Frankly, I just copied this in. I don't know what it does. I don't remember. I remember reading about it, though, so please look it up. That's your homework. Here you can specify panel box. Now, this one I put on the page, but it doesn't seem to be doing anything, and maybe it needs some data. So I'm just going to put a form in here quickly. We'll just do that. Now, one thing that if you don't have any luck doing this, let me just see something here. Where is it? Image. You can come over to here and okay, I have to set this up. So give me a second here. That's why it didn't work. Okay, I set this up and I put in images directly in here with a mountain. So maybe that's why it didn't work, because it wasn't even there. If we do a full refresh now, let's see what happens. Okay, so it's gotten part of it. I think what we need to do is make that larger. And I don't know exactly where the height is. There, line height, I'm not sure if that's what we want. We can set it. See if that does anything. I don't know if that's going to work or not, but you can see, though, that it's starting to put the picture in. And if I actually come over here and click on the panel box, we'll come in here, panel box, and I'll just size it here, and that's 3. Let's do 500 and 800, and that's not going to work because we need pixels. There we go, and you can see now that we have the picture. And I don't know if F5 is going to work with that change or not, but we can just come over here and redo the page. So this is all specified in the style sheet. You don't have to specify it on the page at all. And I've read that in cases where you might have an outer panel box and then inner panel boxes, you can actually specify the inner panel boxes to be of one color and the outer panel box to be of another color. So there's a lot you can do with it. If you search on the, let's see, just come over here to C drive and CSS, you can see that there are quite a few of them. I don't know exactly. I have a lot of samples, but This particular file, if I open this up in Jdeveloper, it will crash it. It's just too big. You can see that there's a ton of settings in here, and it's all very close together. So there's a huge amount of syntax changes that you can do. All right, well, I mean, it's not exactly what you want, but you can see that it's working. So obviously I have a lot of work to do with the formatting here and all of this. I don't know what this is, some setting that I did. But that is the basics on skinning. I hope this was helpful.